Hello and welcome to my presentation. Today we are going to dive into the fascinating intersection of design, corporate strategy, and human psychology, the evolution of popular soda branding. Over the next few minutes, we will look beyond the bubbles to understand how carbonated beverages evolved from medicinal apothecary roots into multi-billion-dollar cultural icons. Specifically, we will examine how the absolute giants of this industry have repeatedly reshaped their visual identities to survive and dominate, the strategic calculations behind those shifts, and where these brands stand in the global cultural landscape. Let's begin with part 1, the Great Cola Wars. For over a century, the global beverage landscape has been defined by a fierce, continuous duel between two of the most recognizable logos on Earth. However, what looks like a simple battle for market share is actually a clash of two diametrically opposed branding philosophies. Let's look at how these two giants carved out their unique spaces. To understand this clash, we must define their core brand archetypes. On one side, we have Coca-Cola playing the role of the heritage guardian. Coke's strategy is built entirely on the concept of timelessness and emotional legacy. By keeping its visual identity remarkably consistent, Coca-Cola positioned itself as an unchanging, comforting anchor in a rapidly shifting world. On the other side stands Pepsi, the cultural chameleon. Rather than fighting Coca-Cola on battlefield of history, Pepsi chose to do their own future. Their strategy relies on systematic, deliberate evolution. Pepsi aligns its typography, colors, and partnerships with the exact zeitgeist of whoever happens to be young at the moment. Let's look closer at Coca-Cola's formula for eternal nostalgia. Coca-Cola's branding relies on three untouchable pillars. First, it's the Spencerian script logo, penned in 1886 by Frank Robinson. It wasn't designed by an agency, it was a bookkeeper's handwriting, giving it an organic human feel. Second is the most famous contour bottle. Patented in 1915, it was engineered with a specific challenge in mind to create a bottle so distinct that a person could recognize it by the feel, in the dark, or even when shattered to the ground. Finally, they mastered nostalgia marketing. By consistently associating the brand with warm, universal emotional touchpoints like family reunions, classic Americana, and even cementing the modern image of Santa Claus, Coca-Cola stopped selling a beverage and started selling happiness itself. Now compare that to Pepsi's Playbook, embracing the future. By the early 1960s, Pepsi realized that competing directly with Coke's deep heritage was a losing battle. So in 1962, they made a massive strategic pivot. They dropped the word cola entirely from their main branding and discarded their red script based logo. This was the birth of the Pepsi generation. They replaced old fashioned cursive script with bold, clean, geometric sans serif typography. Instead of selling classic nostalgia, Pepsi sold modern youth culture, energy, and music rebellion. Their visual trademark shifted to a dynamic global wave pattern, designed specifically to adapt to modern screens, digital mediums, and changing cultural trends. No discussion of cola branding is complete without highlighting what is widely considered the greatest marketing blunder of all time, the 1985 classic crisis. In the early 80s, facing stiff competition, Coca-Cola made a data-driven decision. Blind taste tests showed consumers preferred a sweeter formula, so Coke introduced New Coke and retired the old recipe. In a lab, the logic was perfect, but in reality, it triggered an unprecedented wave of public outrage. Consumers didn't just want a sweet drink, they felt a historic piece of their personal identity had been stolen from them. Coca-Cola was forced to bring back the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic in just 79 days. This crisis proved that consumer relationships with iconic brands are not just logical or functional, they are deeply emotional, sacred connections built on memory. Now let's venture beyond the colas. While Coca-Cola and Pepsi battled for the crown of the mainstream, several other brands quietly carved out highly lucrative, specialized niche markets. Let's examine how these alternative flavors engineered their own unique spaces in the market. To succeed in a market dominated by colas, you cannot look or sound like a cola. You have to find a distinct psychological hook. First, look at Dr. Pepper, founded in 1885, even before Coca-Cola. With its complex secret 23 flavor blend, it couldn't easily be categorized. Dr. Pepper leaned into this mystery by branding itself as the individualist. Their famous campaign celebrated nonconformity, encouraging consumers to stand out from the crowd. Next, 7 Up executed one of the most brilliant counter-positioning campaigns in advertising history. In 1968, they introduced the Uncola campaign. By framing their clean, lemon lime drink as a rebellious, fresh alternative to heavy, dark, established colas, they turned a functional difference into a cultural movement. Finally, Sprite found its voice in the 1990s. While other sodas featured clean cut actors, Sprite aligned itself authentically with hip hop, streetwear, and basketball culture. Under the raw, honest tagline, Obey Your Thirst, Sprite captured the loyalty of urban youth by rejecting corporate polish in favor of raw authenticity. When we translate these branding strategies to financial realities, the numbers speak volumes. As you can see on this chart, Coca-Cola's brand value towers at a staggering $106.1 billion, while Pepsi sits at $21.2 billion. Dr. Pepper and Sprite hold highly respectable but significantly smaller shares of brand equity. This dramatic disparity highlights a vital truth in branding: consistent, emotional, heritage driven equity, the kind Coca Cola has guarded for over a century, is incredibly difficult to replicate and commands a massive financial premium over trend driven fluid identities. To be clear, while Pepsi's individual brand value is lower, its parent portfolio is a massive global force. When we look at the total market dominance breakdown, we see a highly consolidated landscape. The Coca Cola portfolio owns 45% of the market. PepsiCo follows with a powerful 30% share, fueled by a diversity array of beverage brands. Keurig Dr. Pepper secures 15%, leaving just the remaining 10% for independent, craft, or regional players. This highly concentrated landscape shows that branding at this scale is a game of deep portfolios and massive distribution, protected by immense walls of historic brand loyalty. Let's take a step back and trace this entire journey chronologically. In the 1880s, we see the humble beginnings of these brands as medicinal syrups and health tonics in local pharmacies. By 1915, the physical canvas of branding became paramount, marked by Coca-Cola patenting the contour bottle to protect its visual identity from mimics. In 1968, we entered the golden age of creative advertising and positioning, epitomized by 7 Up's legendary Uncola campaign, which proved you could market a soda by defining what it wasn't. And finally, as we navigate to the 2020s, we are witnessing a fascinating trend: the modern retro wave. Brands are actually discarding complex digital logos to bring back simplified, bold, vintage visual elements from their own archives. Why? Because in a high speed digital world, nostalgia is the ultimate comfort. If we boil down this entire evolution into a single strategic takeaway, it is this: the most successful beverage corporations on the planet do not sell carbonated sugar water. The product itself is cheap to produce and highly replicable. What they are actually marketing is something far more profound: nostalgia, dynamic lifestyle connections, personal prestige, and cultural identities. The fluid in the can is temporary, but the emotional real estate they occupy in our minds is permanent. That concludes the visual journey through the evolution of soda branding. I hope this gave you a deeper appreciation for the profound design choices and psychological strategies behind the cans we see on supermarket shelves. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe for more content.